everyone. Our topic for today, subject and predicate. We've seen in the previous lessons that a sentence is a group of words that makes complete sense. We've also seen the four different types of sentences. Continuing with our topic, the sentence, today we shall see the two parts of a sentence. A sentence contains two parts, the subject and the predicate. The subject part of a sentence talks about a person, a place, an animal, or a thing. And of course, they're plurals persons, places, animals, or things. And when we are talking about these, it will also include the pronouns he, she, it, they. This is the subject part, that in any sentence, who are we talking about or what are we talking about? The next part, that is the predicate. The predicate tells us what the subject does or who the subject is. For example, if you were to take a simple sentence, like for example, if I were to write, Sunil likes to play cricket. Okay? Now, in this sentence, that is Sunil likes to play cricket, whom are we talking about? Is it a person? Is it an animal? Is it a place? Or is it a thing? It is a person. And who is that person? Sunil. So the subject means whom are we talking about in the sentence? So we are talking about Sunil and Sunil becomes the subject. Now, what is left is the predicate part. Likes to play cricket. Likes to play cricket is the predicate which tells us what Sunil likes to do. Okay? So, the predicate part also contains the verb. We will be going into the details of the verb afterwards. But as of now, doing words are what we call as verbs or whatever something is. That is also a verb. So here likes to play cricket. Now, when we spoke about Sunil, only one person. So the subject contains only one word. But it is not necessary that the subject will contain only one word. Subject can also be two words. Sunil and Mohan. It can also have more than two words. Three words also it can have. Four words also it can have. Depends upon how many people are we talking about, how many things are we talking about, how many animals are we talking about, or if we go into more details about anything. For example, I speak about a boy. Now, I want to give little more details about the boy. So, I can say, the boy wearing a red cap is my brother. Long sentence, but if you were to look at it, whom are we talking about? The boy. Are we talking about any boy? No, I'm specifying that the boy wearing a red cap. I'm especially talking about the boy who's wearing a red cap. So the boy wearing a red cap becomes my subject. And which is the predicate part? Is my brother. The predicate is telling us who the subject is. It's very easy to find out which is the subject part of a sentence. And there are two ways of finding it. First is just find out what the sentence contains. Whether it contains a person, a place, animal or thing. That means what are we talking about? Who are we talking about? Is it clear? Or the second way to identify the subject is you pick out the verb and ask the question to the verb. Like in the first sentence, Sunil likes to play cricket. Who likes to play cricket? You get the answer Sunil. Over here, pick out the verb is. Is the verb. Who is my brother? And after the verb, the entire part that is left. Who is my brother? Not just the boy, but the boy wearing a red cap. So this way you can find out the subject and the predicate. Let us look at a few more examples that you see on your screen. The first one, my brother is going to the shop. Who is going to the shop? My brother. So my brother is the subject. Predicate is going to the shop. The tiger attacked the hunter. Pick out the verb attack. Who attacked the hunter? The tiger. So as you can see, subject the tiger, predicate attacked the hunter. The mountains have a cool climate. What are we talking about in this sentence? Is it a person? No, we are talking about the mountains. So the mountains is the subject. And what is the predicate telling us about the subject? That they have a cool climate. So have a cool climate is the predicate part. Then the next one now. The box on the table belongs to me, which is the verb belongs. What belongs to me? Is it just the box? No, the box on the table belongs to me. So the subject contains more than 2-3 words, the box on the table. Or if we take the other way around, what are we talking about? We are talking about a box. But is it any box? No, I'm specifying the box on the table. Now, as you have seen in all these examples, the subject was always at the beginning of the sentence. My brother, the tiger, the mountains, the box on the table. But there are some exceptions also. Now let us look at these exceptions. For example, the very first sentence that you see, standing in front of me was a ferocious tiger. Whom are we talking about in this sentence? A ferocious tiger. So a ferocious tiger is the subject, but it is not at the beginning of the sentence, it is towards the end. Now, why did we put it towards the end? We could have simply said a ferocious tiger was standing in front of me. But maybe to make it sound little more dramatic while you're writing something, you can just imagine the mood and the tone in which you can say, standing in front of me was a ferocious tiger. So when you say it this way, it becomes little more dramatic. Now, the next sentence. Leaning against the wall was the huge giant. Again, we are trying to make this little dramatic. Leaning, you're telling a story that leaning means bending this way, taking the support. Leaning against the wall was the huge giant. You could have simply said the huge giant was leaning against the wall. But you can see the difference. When you say that leaning against the wall was the huge giant, it sounds more dramatic and you're adding little more of excitement to your story. Similarly, in a dense forest lived the 7 dwarfs. You all must have read the story or heard the story of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. So while again writing the story or narrating the story to someone, then when you're describing something and then when you want to talk about that, where did they live? In a dense forest lived the 7 dwarfs. Now dwarfs is the plural of dwarf. You can also say dwarfs like you can see, or it can also be DWARVES dwarfs. Both are correct. This is less commonly used. We mostly use dwarfs, but both are absolutely correct. And sometimes when you read a sentence, you feel that there is no subject in that. For example, be quiet. When you just look at these two words, be quiet, you do not see any subject in it. But we say the subject is hidden or what we call as the implied subject. Because when I'm telling someone be quiet, I'm telling someone in front of me. So it is actually you be quiet. Remember, we had done imperative sentences giving a command or an order. So it is you be quiet. So we leave out the you and it can just be said in an order way, be quiet. So it is understood that the subject over here is you. Similarly, get me a glass of water. That means I'm telling someone, you get me a glass of water. I won't say he get me a glass of water, she get me a glass of water. I'm telling someone who's there in front of me, get me a glass of water. So again, the hidden subject is you. When I say don't disturb the class, it means you don't disturb the class. You can be, I'm addressing the whole class also. So you don't disturb the class. So these are certain exceptions that we talk about, that over here in these cases, we cannot see the subject, but it is implied. It is understood that the subject is you. And these are what we covered up mostly in the imperative sentences. These are the sentences that give an order or they're giving us a command. Now some activity. So again, time to take out your notebooks, your notepads, your pencils, your pens, whatever you want to write with, and get ready to do the exercise that you see on your screen. So this was really very simple. The underlined part, you just had to say whether it is the subject part or whether it is the predicate part. Chase the cat, the predicate part. Because if you ask who chased the cat, the dog becomes the subject. No one attended the meeting. Again, ask the question, who attended the meeting? No one. So you get the subject as no one. The chef prepared tasty pasta. Whom are we talking about? The chef. So the chef is the subject. The hat on the table belongs to me. What are we talking about? We are talking about the hat on the table. Or what belongs to me? The hat on the table. We are not talking about any hat. We are talking specifically about the hat on the table. And the last one, the tortoise defeated the hare. Whom are we talking about? We are talking about an animal, the tortoise. If you take the verb, who defeated the hare? It is the tortoise. So defeated the hare is the predicate part. Now, I would just like you to pay a little attention to the pronunciation of the word tortoise. Now, generally, or maybe sometimes we say tortoise. That is what we usually hear. But it is not tortoise. We pronounce it as tortoise. How do we pronounce it as? Tortoise. So you can add this to your pronunciation dictionary that yes, it is not tortoise, it is tortoise. So, one more exercise for you, wherein now you just have to select the subject part and the predicate part. So, time to pause your videos and start jotting down your answers. Okay, the answers right in front of you. Raj and Salim are working together. So you can see whom are we talking about? We are talking about Raj and Salim. So that is the subject. Or you can say who are working together. The verb part are working. Who are working together? Raj and Salim. So as you can see, the other answers also very easy. I love reading comics. Who are we talking about? I. Or who loves reading comics? I. So just one single word, that is the pronoun I. Okay. Our annual function is on 30th November. Here we are talking about something. What are we talking about? Our annual function. And what is the predicate telling? That it is on 30th November. Or the verb, what is on 30th November? Our annual function. Next one, again in the same way, the new bicycle on the road belongs to John. Pick up the word belongs. What belongs to John? The new bicycle on the road. We are not talking about any bicycle or any new bicycle, but specifically about the new bicycle on the road. Arranged on the table were the beautiful plates. Here we have the subject coming at the end again to make it little more to give it effect that we went in somewhere and arranged on the table were the beautiful plates. So, this was your exercise for today that we've just done about subject and predicate. Before we wind up, again a brief recapitulation. A sentence can be divided into two parts, or we say a sentence contains two parts, the subject and the predicate. The subject is whom are we talking about or what are we talking about. The predicate tells us who the subject is or what the subject is and what the subject is doing. It contains the verb part. So that's all for today. And yes, some practice for you to do after you watch the video. So as usual, the link in the description box below. Do it and you can also check up your answers. So till we meet again in my next video, goodbye and take care.